Alright, everyone, here. I'm here with another movie reaction, not movie reaction, movie review and discussion. This one's for The Mummy 2017. I just finished watching this last night at the movies, and it was pretty good. I liked it. It definitely was not the most like amazing movie out there, and there are some problems with it. But overall, it was an enjoyable movie, a good forte into the dark universe. This is gonna have some spoilers in it, by the way. And for those of you that don't know, the dark universe is basically like Universal Studios is rebranding their monster movies, like like kind of remodernizing all their old monster movie characters from like the 50s and stuff, or whatever, whenever it was, like Dracula, Frankenstein, all that stuff. Then the Mummy is just the first movie in that series, and I'm unaware if they're trying to like make them all team up at some point. Like that's what it feels like. But as of right now, the universe is supposed to be like a shared universe where they're all connected. They're gonna pop up in each other's movies a little bit. This is shown in this movie because again, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen this movie. But there are some there's an appearance by a major character in the movie is actually revealed to be Dr. Jekyll, the human half of Mr. Hyde, played by Russell Crowe, and he does go into Hyde mode during the movie, and it was actually a really fun part. It was actually one of my favorite parts in the movie, in all honesty, was whenever they're Dr. Hyde or Mr. Hyde and Tom Cruise's character are duking it out. Russell Crowe gave a really good performance, and it was one of the best parts in the movie to me. But I'm jumping ahead of myself. The movie is basically the movie is set in all. The movie is actually very interesting because it's all like international. It's set in like in a lot of different parts of the world. You start off in Iraq, like with Tom Cruise's character and his best friend being like soldiers in the military, and they're basically like moonlighting as looters. Like they'll go in and like while the enemy's fighting, and they'll like steal like artifacts and stuff and sell them. So they're basically thieves. They're soldiers, but they're also thieves. Like they're using their military as a cover for stealing, basically. And it's an interesting little twist on the classic grave robber, Tomb Raider type character. It's an interesting little modern twist on that. Tom Cruise's friend, who I think his name is, oh man, I can't remember the actor's name. Is it Jake Johnson or something like that? He was actually really fun. I really enjoyed him. He brought a really good comical relief to the movie, as you can see him here on the right. He was I enjoyed his parts in the movie. He again, spoiler alert if you're still here. He doesn't make it all that long in the movie, but he constantly appears as like a ghost, like like a vision to Tom Cruise, and he was funny. He just, I don't know. And that was the thing about this movie. Sorry, the birds are chirping really loud. This movie was actually really this movie had a lot of comedy to it, like a lot of physical humor, and the comedy never felt like it was forced on you. Like it never felt out of place like it does sometimes in certain superhero movies and stuff. But no, this is actually a really there was a lot of comedy in this. Like for example, a good example of this is there's a scene where Tom Cruise and the main female character, I think Jenny is her name. They're in a car, and they're being attacked by some zombies, well, mummies, I guess, or whatever you want to call them. And she starts just frantically kicking the zombie. And after a few seconds, Tom Cruise is like, you realize she's kicking Tom Cruise in the face, and Tom Cruise is like, he has to stop, and he's just like, hey, that's my face, you're kicking it. And it was just, I don't know, it was just funny. I chuckled at that scene. It didn't take you out of the action or the moment, but it was still funny. And there's a lot of little moments like that, a lot of like just especially with Tom Cruise fighting the dead, and they're just funny little scenes with their arms falling off and then we have and going back to what I was talking about, Russell Crowe, I really enjoyed his character of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We got a pretty good little bit of backstory into his character. We learned that he's like, well, it looks like he was the leader, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But it looks like he's the leader of this organization, this big, private funded organization that's dedicated to just finding these monsters and these magical things and examining them and then destroying them if necessary, which in this movie was totally necessary. They have a very interesting looking hideout. It's our base. He's got quite a few soldiers and resources to his name, so I'm expecting to see this organization over and over, like in the other movies. And also, it kind of feels like this is I don't know where this movie is going to take place in the timeline of the monster movies or the Dark Universe. But it feels like Russell Crowe has already had a full life of fighting monsters, and and he's seen lots of stuff. Because this is a kind of a spoiler alert, well, not really a spoiler alert, just Easter eggs. There's a scene where when you're first being introduced to his character, when he's first introducing his character to Tom Cruise, and they're in his laboratory, and you see a bunch of little Easter eggs. There's a jar with an arm in it, a severed arm in it. And if you look closely, it looks just like the creature from the Black Lagoon's arm in the old movies. So I'm sure that was an Easter egg of the creature from the Black Lagoon. There's also a skull in his office with some vampire teeth, and obviously that's supposed to be an Easter egg for Dracula or just vampires in general. There was something else too. Oh yeah. Now this may not be exactly what this is, but I took it. This is how I took it. They show a chair, they show, well, not really a chair, but they show they show a big chair that has straps on it, and it's sitting in the middle of a room, and it looks almost like that room can be elevated for the chair to go up. And this just kind of I'm assuming this is supposed to be like the Frankenstein monsters, where he was made at, because that's what it looks like. It looks like a chair it looks like the chair from the old movies where they put the Frankenstein monster on and then they raise him up. That's what it looked like to me. I could be totally wrong, but I felt like that was the Easter egg for the Frankenstein's monster. But with all that said, I really enjoyed that element of the movie. I enjoyed how there's an organization that's hunting these guys and is trying to channel their abilities. I also enjoyed the whole conversation that Jekyll has about talking about his backstory and how he was trying to understand evil, and in the process he became a monster. And how I really love his speech about how he was like a chemist, and he realized that if evil was a disease, or there must have been some way to suppress it, or some chemical way to suppress it. So it really just fed into his character's psyche, and I liked it. Like I said, I really enjoyed Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I think he was personally my favorite part of the movie. He's definitely my favorite character in the movie. Hopefully he gets his own single movie. I'm not sure if he is. There was also a part where Dr. Jekyll's character gives a little speech, or he delivers a line about this is a time of gods and monsters, and I thought that was worth noting because that's actually a famous quote from Universal's monster movies. I forget which monster movie it's in, but if you look at the Dark Universe trailer that they have, which showcases a lot of the old movies, you can hear at the end a character saying that line. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. I loved all those little Easter eggs. And I'm sure if you were a really hardcore fan of the old movies, you would probably catch a few more. One reference that I didn't catch, but my friend caught, and I don't know if he was mistaken or not, but he told me that he caught this reference, and that was from the 1990s Mummy movie. That they have a part where there's a part where Jenny, as pictured here, she fighting somebody, and she grabs she's in Dr. Jekyll's library, and she just grabs a random book and just hits the guy over the head with it, and And my friend was, when I went and saw the movie, he was telling me that that book is actually the Book of Life or the Book of Death, one of the two, and that it's featured in the older Mummy movie. Now I don't know if that's I don't know how accurate that is because I never seen that movie. But yes, apparently they're also using the even newer movies as references and Easter eggs. So I thought that was cool. Speaking of Jenny's character, she was pretty good. She definitely one of my least favorite characters in the movie, but at least she wasn't just like a useless damsel in distress that we get way too often with female characters. She was actually pretty strong and she was pretty strong and independent. I got that vibe very early on from her in the movie, which was good. She had the sex appeal going on, but it wasn't like overly done. It was just, it felt just right. Her and Tom Cruise's relationship was, it was fleshed out throughout the movie, but I think it was fleshed out in a good form. They never focused too much on it, which was good, because if they would have focused too much on it, it would have took away from the overall like feeling of of urgency and terror that the movie had. Special effects wise, the movie was pretty awesome. Like visuals, it had some great visuals, especially with all like these zombies and reincarnated dead. They were really well done. The mummy herself, she was very good. The mummy herself was probably the least most fleshed out character. From a visual standpoint, she was really interesting. She had this really creepy like mannerisms and movement to her. Like she was very she was very elegant in her movement, but also very like monstrous. It's hard to explain. Like especially in the early parts of the movie when she's still like forming herself and absorbing her body back together or whatever. She gave off a very creepy vibe. But overall, the villain, like the movie is not even all that great in terms of like the mummy being like a villain. Like yeah, she's very menacing. She's very threatening looking, very powerful. Her motivations felt kind of flat, honestly. Like it's just about her. It's all she's trying to do is just kill Tom Cruise because he's a chosen, and then bring her lover into the human world through his body. I felt like that story had been done so many times. I felt like she just had that one path, and it was really simple. Also, I felt like the fight scene at the end was very not as very kind of anti-dramatic and not like all that great. Like I know it was challenging, but for Tom Cruise's character, but I felt like when he did beat her, it just felt like he didn't have to do much. I don't know. It was weird. It didn't feel like I feel like they could have did more with that fight scene. Like it could have went on longer. Could have been a little bit more evenly matched. It was literally like Mummy was winning hardcore, and then Tom Cruise stabbed himself, and then he won hardcore. Like that's how it went. Other than that, like I didn't really have any serious complaints. That would be my biggest complaint with the movie was the mummy herself, and the final like action sequence. Those would be my two biggest complaints. My biggest pros were Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde's character, like the whole building of the universe, like with the organization and all that. Which I don't think they ever said the organization's name. So yeah, that's. And then like at the end when he becomes like the mummy himself, that was interesting. But overall the movie is decent. Overall this movie was decent, but it wasn't like anything amazing. It's I'm really more excited for what this movie is gonna have, like it's gonna set up for the rest of the Dark Universe. Like hopefully this is not an indication of how the quality of the Dark Universe movies, because if it is, it's not going to do all that well. Because like from what I've seen, like in ratings and stuff, this movie is getting like a lot of 5s and 6s, which is just average or a little bit above average, but it's not getting like it's not as good as like it's not. I don't want to say it's bad, but it's not going to be like a giant blockbuster movie of the year kind of thing. But with that being said, I hope it opens the doors for some better movies. Like, I'm really excited for whatever they do with Dracula. I'm excited for whatever they do with Wolfman. If they go Wolfman route, because they didn't really like reference it at all. But if they go Wolfman and Dracula, I would be totally happy with that. I would even be happy with something like Creature from the Black Lagoon or Invisible Man if they did it right. But I've been rambling on too long, so thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more reactions, more reviews, and all that jazz.